And I want to thank you again, Deborah, for agreeing to meet with me. Before we get started, though, I'm going to tell our listeners a little bit about you. All right.
Okay.
So, and this is an interesting bio. You left academia in 2002 to become a professional matchmaker after meeting and marrying the love of your life at the age of 49.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and you wanted to help other people find love after loss. You became a relationship coach through the Relationship Coaching Institute, which is in California. And you also certified as a matchmaker through the International Matchmaking Institute in New York City. And then you started with Great Expectations, which is a nationwide dating service in Providence, Rhode Island. And then they ran a top matchmaker service, a small boutique matchmaking agency located in Sarasota. And you might have to explain what small boutique means. Could you explain that for us right now?
Okay. Well, small boutique means we know all our clients. We work with them one-on-one. We give them a lot of individualized service. Uh, and it's an individualized agency that was located in Sarasota, Florida, as well as Naples,
Okay.
versus a nationwide company.
Oh, okay, good. Good to know. Thank you. Because I think we've heard this word before, but maybe the audience won't know. So after
Sure.
that, you moved to your husband's home state of Massachusetts, and then you opened your own company, Get Ready to Date, in Barrington, Rhode Island, 3 years ago. You teach the over 50 widowed and divorced how to date again. I think this is great. How to date again and create a second chance at the love blueprint. I'm curious about that. We'll talk more about that in a minute. You also provide matchmaking service for clients to find a partner. And you believe, of course, that it's never too late to find love again. And as you know, I'm a Back in the Groove Again coach, and people in midlife, as you are probably aware, a lot of people in midlife do think of getting back into the dating scene after a separation or a divorce. Some of them might even want to get married again. So this is a perfect opportunity to find out more about some of your services. Now, I do have a few questions. I know that your niche is over 50, and I know that you work more with people over 50. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between the dating scene, when we were in our 20s and 30s, and of course the dating scene when we're over 50.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, when we were in our 20s, I don't know about you, but I got married young the first time around in my 20s. Dating was really easy. You went out, you had fun, you enjoyed life, you met people, you had social circles, and dating was much easier.
Yeah.
Um, Even today with dating, as far as online dating, there are actually 30.4 million people doing online dating today. But with
Wow.
younger people, they are just very casual. They use online dating to meet friends. I don't know if you know the word, Linda, hookups, but a lot of people in their 20s and 30s are into
Yes.
hookups.
Yes.
And they're not really concerned about safety as much. But once you move into the 50s and beyond, uh, what I find is most people, because they are either divorced or widowed, are more serious. They're looking more for what I call serial monogamy,
Right.
which is one relationship at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think the key word is they're cautious. Even
Yes.
before the pandemic, most people are afraid of being hurt. They've been hurt before. They've
Yes.
either lost their spouse through death or through divorce, and they have very high standards. They're looking at really quality versus quantity. So you
Mm.
really can't compare dating in your 20s and 30s to your 50s and above. It's
Right.
really not anything the same at all.
Right. Now, if somebody was married for 30, 40, 30 years or plus, and they're suddenly widowed, or now they're ready to start the dating scene, do you think they'd know what to do?
No, they don't, Linda. And that's exactly why I named my company Get Ready to Date.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to use a specific example of a client I have. I'm going to
Okay.
change her name. We'll just say her name was Diane. But Diane came to me, she was 75 years old. She had been married 50 years. She suddenly lost her husband.
Yeah.
And she, like we were discussing, got married in her early 20s. She was happily married, enjoyed life, raised a family,
Yes.
loved her husband, and unfortunately he passed away.
Yeah.
And as I tell all my clients, it's never too late to have a new dream. And she came in to see me, but instead of, just because I am a matchmaker and a relationship coach, instead of just sending her out, what I did is I had her go through a program where basically I taught her how to date again.
Okay.
Because dating doesn't come in a textbook. It's not like,
Yeah.
you have a book and you know how to date.
Right.
So she went through a program, and I could talk to you a little more about that if you wanted me to. But basically, I got her ready to date again. And then I set up a luncheon date because she was 75. So instead of doing dinner, we did lunch. And she met this delightful gentleman who's my client, who's 77. And guess what? They started casually dating.
That's so
And
sweet.
she called me from the parking lot, and she was a nervous wreck. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Deborah, I haven't been on a date in 50 years. I don't know if I can do it." So I basically gave her the confidence to go in and to just meet the gentleman. What I tell all my clients on the first meeting is, all you're looking to see is if you have some chemistry. Is
Right.
this someone you want to get to know more?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a true story. And again, nothing brings me more joy than to know that I'm taking someone that really had no hope. Her husband had passed away, and now
Yeah.
she's casually dating.
I know. Isn't that fun?
It is. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. So what would be some key factors for people in their 50s that are actually considering now dating?
Okay. Well, what I recommend everyone does when they're looking to meet a new someone in their life is they sit down and they actually put pen to paper and they write down what their deal breakers are,
Mm,
and that they have a clear vision of what they're looking for before they
mm,
go out.
mm,
I teach my clients how to be the chooser, how to
right.
be the person.
Mm.
Just because someone gives attention to you, that doesn't mean that's necessarily the right person for you.
Isn't
So
that
that,
true? Hmm.
yes, absolutely. And I
And
use the, mhm.
would you say that this is one of the differences, maybe, that when we were in our 20s, we would automatically think they like us because they're interested
Absolutely.
in us?
Absolutely. And,
Mm,
many times in the 20s, you're bringing up a good point. People are attracted just by looks. I mean,
right.
certainly physical chemistry is important, but it's not everything.
Yes.
Um, and in your 20s, I think it's more about the physical chemistry.
Yeah.
As we get older, I mean, attraction is inherently physical, emotional, and intellectual. And
Yes.
to have a good
Yes.
match, you have to have all three.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the important thing. So would you say that all three need to be there? Like as we get older, we have to really consider all those three factors?
Yes, and it's not that it isn't necessary when you're younger. It's just you're not as conscious about those things.
Right.
I think most people get caught up in the physical, and
Right.
then they're not necessarily looking at the emotional and the intellectual piece.
Yeah. I know I wasn't thinking about the emotional piece when I was in my 20s, that's for sure.
Right. So true.
Absolutely. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. So we know now, especially now, the dating scene has changed. Last few months, it's changed big time. What are people
Yes.
doing now during the COVID?
Actually, I'm kind of, it's unfortunate what's happening with the pandemic and with COVID-19. However, what I like very much is that we've gone back to old-fashioned dating. And old-fashioned
Hmm.
dating was much slower. What I have clients do is, if we find a match, that they have a telephone call together, and they get to talk to each other, and they get to meet each other on the phone. They don't actually see each other. They're just talking on the phone and
Okay.
seeing if there's enough connection and
Mm-hmm.
commonality between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I typically have a client speaks on the phone at least twice.
Mm.
And then if they feel as though, okay, this is someone I really like,
Yeah.
they're very interesting, I have a lot in common with them, then I recommend that they go to a Zoom meeting after that.
Oh,
So I
perfect.
kind of
Yes.
use the 2-2-2 concept. Two
Okay.
times on the phone and then do 2 Zoom meetings. Because now with Zoom, as you know, you do get to see the person. Of course, it's not as good as being in person, but in this time of COVID-19 where we have to stay safe, it is a good way.
Absolutely. Okay, so you got the two Zoom meetings, and then what's the other two?
And then once the COVID-19, once it's safe to do so, then I will recommend that you meet in person and perhaps meet for a lunch or a dinner. I
Mm-hmm.
don't recommend just a drink and hors d'oeuvres, because I
Mm-hmm.
want people to spend at least an hour together
Mm-hmm.
to really connect
Mm-hmm.
and see if they have enough in common. But typically what I'm finding is, because our clients are now talking on the phone and doing Zoom meetings, it gets much easier
Yeah,
when they move to the in-person.
right. And do you have any stories to tell us about that? I mean, has anybody been connecting during the
Yes,
pandemic?
yes, actually I just had one today, which is probably, this is my heart's desire, what I get so excited about. I have a man and woman that were connected. They spoke on the phone. Their first telephone meeting was an hour and 20 minutes. I have to tell you, Linda, that's unusual that someone would speak.
How old are these people? How old are they?
He is 68 and she is 66.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. And they both would like to move forward and have a relationship. So the nice thing is we're on an equal playing field. They both want a relationship. So
Yes.
their first call was an hour and 20 minutes. Their
Yeah.
next call was probably about an hour. Because they were so excited, they went right into a Zoom meeting. And this is a neat concept that I introduced to them that they used. They had a margarita happy hour. They both made a margarita and they sat on the Zoom meeting, and then they toasted each other with their margarita as if they were in person. And they both drank their margarita, and they had this amazing, wonderful date on Zoom.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And you call it a date?
Absolutely. It's a virtual date. Absolutely.
Great. So they had a good time enjoying their
Yes.
margarita. And then what happened? Did anything else happen?
Again, the connection was so intense and so wonderful that
Oh,
they decided to throw caution to the wind, and they had their masks on, but they met in person over the weekend in Newport, Rhode Island. And I just received a text from both of them this morning. They've both made a decision. They're going to move forward and start a new relationship.
wow. That's kind of cool.
Yes, I'm so excited about this.
That is really, really exciting. So it sounds like it's possible for people to be actually dating or getting to know each other, then dating during this time.
Yes, because Linda, love never goes out of style. And if anything, people are self-isolating more, self-quarantining. So there's definitely an awareness when you're living alone and not having a relationship or not being with your family and friends,
Hmm.
of being extremely lonely.
Hmm. Now, I'm going to change direction just a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about apps and sites.
Sure.
I mean, there are tons of apps and tons of websites out there. First of all, do you recommend them, or do you think that going, with a dating service such as yours is the ideal?
Okay. Very interesting question. I'm going to answer it 2 ways.
Okay.
Some of my clients are extremely discerning, and they want me to select clients for them. So
Right.
they are purely matchmaking clients, because
Okay.
I have clients coming in all the time. They may have a high visibility, maybe they own companies. Many times teachers do not want to be online. They don't want their students seeing them. Um,
Yes.
you know, so I have one gentleman who's he's in the state legislature in Rhode Island, so he does not want people to see his picture online. So for those clients, I work privately and more individual.
Right.
And there's other clients that want to really do both. And I mentioned when we started talking, there's 30.4 million people using dating apps in this country. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of
And
people.
you know, basically with online dating, it's like fishing in a big pond.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's like fishing in a big pond. And so if I have a client that wants to do online dating, I typically will help them write their profile. It's extremely important that they have professional pictures because, again, when someone's looking at your pictures, you either catch the eye or you don't. And again, that's a positive and could potentially be a negative with online dating because people are making very fast decisions about whether or not they'd like to meet you.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's the part, you know, they look at the picture and you were just saying, if I don't like the picture, forget it. But the guy could be a great guy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's also important because with online dating, you're marketing yourself. So you've got to have those exceptional pictures and you need a headline that's like a hook that when someone goes to your picture, they look at it and then you have a great headline. And then from there, a very well-written professional profile has to be there. You've got to pique someone's interest very quickly.
Now, is that part of your service as well?
I can provide that, yes. Not all my clients take advantage of it, but many have been.
Yeah. Now, I have to ask the question about sex, all right?
Sure.
We got to talk about it because let's face it, when we're in our 20s and 30s, it might be all about sex, but you know, when people get a little bit older, is that still top of mind, or is that even still there? Do people prefer casual sex in their 50s and up? What is that whole thing about? Tell us more about that. You've got some experience.
Linda, my opinion is sex is the elephant in the room. Okay. It's like it is top of mind for everyone. As I had said, we're all made for a relationship. We all want to meet someone and be close to them. I mean, let's be honest, that's part of the human condition. But typically it's not discussed as much as we get older.
Right.
Yeah. And again, my clients, male and female, are much more cautious once they're older. They know the chance of STDs is prevalent. And so what I say to my clients is when you're starting a relationship, it's like building a house. You have to have a firm foundation.
Yes.
So I recommend that clients do not jump into physical intimacy too quickly, that they become friends, that they get to know each other, that they know that they have enough in common. And that they're ready to take it to the next step. Because once they do start a physical relationship, as we both know, the relationship changes.
Yes, that's right. And I think that might be one of the main differences between 20s and 50s and 60s and up.
Yes. Because once you enter into a physical relationship, say when you're young, you can get caught up on that.
Yeah.
You fall in lust versus love.
That's right.
And you might not be looking at other areas like emotional compatibility, intellectual compatibility. Do you have the same values?
Right.
Do you want the same thing out of life? And so when you're in a physical relationship, a lot of those very important areas are kind of put out of your mind temporarily. I mean, they're not out of your mind, but they're not top of mind.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm going to pretend just for a moment that I want to start dating and I'm, you know, I don't know where to start, and I contact you through your website, which you're going to give us the information later on again. What's going to happen? How are we going to work together? How would that work?
Okay, well, first of all, you would come in and you would meet me and I would meet you, because
Hmm.
if I am going to become your relationship coach and your matchmaker, you have to be comfortable with me, because you're essentially going to put your heart in my hand. You're basically trusting me.
Right.
So it's a very sacred relationship that we start.
Hmm.
So we decide on the first meeting if we'd like to both work together. And then I have a program. It typically lasts between 8 and 12 weeks, where you come in and typically in the past, before COVID, my clients would come in. Now I'm doing more Zoom meetings.
Right.
Uh, is that we meet for 12 weeks and I bring you through a program for dating. And
Hmm.
in that, you will really have a clear understanding of what you're looking for and
Mm.
also how to date. One of the things, I wrote an article called Deliberate Dating is Like Eating an Ice Cream Sundae. Because you basically, you can have a lot of different ice cream, but what do you want? Do you want chocolate? Do you want vanilla? Do you want strawberry? So if you wanted to, you
Yeah,
could certainly read that article later, but essentially you have to know what you want. And most of us don't think about that before we start dating. So
that's
in this
true.
program, I do get all my clients ready to date prior to that first
Cool. But what if I want to
introduction.
start dating now?
Okay, if you want to start dating now, like today, like you just came in to see me, is that what you're asking?
Sure.
Okay, I would try to slow you down.
Okay.
Okay, I would say certainly I'm excited that you want to meet somebody, but let's just determine what your deal breakers are. Let's talk about what your requirements are, what you
Mm.
have to have, what your needs are, your wants,
Mm.
and let me help you determine who the appropriate matches would be for you.
Right. Okay. So it means I really got to think about this.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And I think most people our age would want to do that.
Yes. Once I explain the process of what I do, it makes sense to them
Right.
and they're
Yeah.
actually excited about it.
Cool. It does sound like a fun process to go through. All right. So we're nearing the end of our interview. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, they're interested in dating, how would they do that?
Well, certainly they can reach out to me through my website, which is www.getreadytodate.com,
Okay.
or they can call me on my business number, which is 401-569-8233,
Perfect.
and we could set up a time to meet.
Excellent. I'm going to have that information on the video as well, by the way.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with us before we call it a day?
Well, I guess I'll just end with one of my favorite quotes in
Okay.
life. I really live by this. If it's not mad, passionate love, it's a waste of time. There are too many mediocre things in life, and love should not be one of them.
I love that. I love that. How
Thank you.
often have we wasted our time with relationships when we're in our 20s and 30s?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we got to go for it. Thank you so much, Deborah. It was actually a real pleasure to talk with you.
It's a pleasure to talk to you as well. Thank
Great.
you so much, Linda.
Thank you.
That's why I tend to attract older people.
Yeah, and I think honestly, a lot of older people are feeling more comfortable with older people, right?
Right, right,
I
exactly.
hate to say that, but it's so true.
True. Well, I decided, because my avatar is really, I mean, obviously we deal with more women than we do men, but is, college educated, financially stable, women over 50. I mean,
Yeah,
that just seems to be the people that come in to see me,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And I think
So,
most people in their 50s, they don't want to necessarily, excuse the language, screw around too much. They
right,
they want help. And those that would work with you want results.
right.
I'm
Like I got
I'm
an email,
thinking,
mhm, right, I got an email and the woman says, I'm 48, would you accept me as a client? And I called her, I said, yes, absolutely. You know, it's not like it's hard and fast 50,
Well,
you know,
that's it, right? That's right.
but
Uh, so
40's still young, you
it
know,
is.
40s are still young.
It is a different experience, even in their 40s. You know, most people in their 40s maybe haven't been married that long, if
Right.
if they've been married, you know. So it's a different experience. And I'm just thinking, when I was in my 40s, I'm 62, I was still feeling young and sexy, you know.
Right. Right. Like I have my oldest client's 84. And when I was in Sarasota, my oldest client was 90. And you know what she said to me? She goes, I have to move. These people are too old where I live. And I said to her, Harriet, you're 90. She goes, I know, but I don't feel 90.
Yeah. And you know what? I think I might keep this part on the video, like this last conversation we just had. I might add that. What I mean is, I might add this piece to our.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's an interesting conversation.
It really is.
Yeah. Anyways, excellent. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Wonderful. Thank you. And absolutely. And I'll see you at boot camp tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there. Okay. Bye, Deborah.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.